everybody. We got a great episode for you today. You know, there's two themes that I often talk about. One is that we're going through this generational shift where the machining industry is becoming more collaborative, more supportive of each other. And then there's this other one about people not reaching out to engage in resources that are available to them. They go it alone, they try to figure it out. They're I don't know, they're gritty, which is important, but maybe a little bit too stubborn or not humble enough to acknowledge the fact that they don't know everything. And my guest today is breaking the mold in both of these categories. I got to sit down with Kyra Tillman from BTM Industries, third generation owner, now going on to the fourth with her kids in the business, which I love, just love. But Kyra is, I called her, I think in the episode, the queen of resources. She is so good at reaching out, finding resources that are available, whether it's, peer groups like Vistage, the TMA in the Chicago area, the MEP program using grants, and she's giving back as well. She's not just taking from the system, she's absolutely giving back into it. And then the collaboration with other shops, right? So she opens her door, welcomes people in, and she's taken a culture that was perpetuated by her grandfather and father of just more closed in, less open to sharing. And she's really just, flipped at 180. And the results are really positive, right? She said about the same number of employees, but double the revenue that she has seen over the last several years as she's been running the business. And it's just a fantastic story. There's so many takeaways. Hopefully it inspires you to get out of your shop, go visit other shops, go to organizations, ask for help when you need it, and then give back to those that you can give back to as well. So I love this interview. Let's go check it out right now. Good morning, Kyra. Welcome to the show. Glad you're here.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I was just saying, for those watching on video, I love the branding. She's got a beautiful BTM right behind her on the wall. You guys are good at the branding, and we'll talk about that when we get into the marketing and sales side of things. So, let's first start by learning more about you and BTM Industries. Give us a snapshot of what you guys look like today, what you specialize in, what size the company is, and then let's go back and talk about the history.
Sure. Well, today we are 13 people, so we are not a big company by any stretch of the imagination. We do boring, turning, and milling, BTM. We have more milling capacity than we have turning capacity. We've got 8 machining centers. We've got a large boring mill where we can do, we can get 6,000, 10,000 pounds up on the table. And wow. We do a little bit of everything. We're a typical job shop. We make whatever our customers need, but we're low volume. 1,000 pieces is a lot for us. 1 to 20 pieces, very normal. We've got large turning capacity. We've got an oil field lathe that we can do 9 inches through the spindle.
Oh, wow.
120 inches between centers. And that we can turn about a 29 inch outside diameter on that machine if it doesn't need to go through the spindle. So we kind of like the bigger things. We work on a lot of weldments. We have some welding capability here. So we do some light fabrication as well. We do some assembly. We do a little bit of everything, but we don't get into that tight tolerance aerospace medical world. We don't get into the high volume, and we've kind of found our niche there. We like that. We like the lower volume. We like the bigger pieces. We love working on weldments. We work on a lot of castings. We've got great customers. Mostly are OEMs. They make mining equipment and construction equipment. Machinery. We make machinery for some of our customers. So it's a nice little mix.
Very good. I love it. So third generation, and your fourth is now working. Your kids are now starting to work in the business. So that is super cool. Tell us the origin story of BTM.
So my grandfather was a machinist, and he decided to start his own company in 1963. So he went out with a partner, and they started a little shop a couple towns over from us in Cary, Illinois. And then in 1969, he moved to this location in Woodstock, Illinois. It's kind of a Frankenstein of a building where there's the original section and then an addition and another addition. And we've been here ever since 1969. My dad and one of my uncles joined my grandfather in the business in the late 60s. My dad and my uncle ran it together from the late 70s till the early 2000s when my uncle had to retire for health reasons.
Okay.
So then my dad was here by himself with no plan to retire, had never even thought about retiring, and kind of looked around and went, oh no, what am I going to do? I had worked here as a kid. I grew up a block away, so I was slave labor as a kid, and I hated it. And I always said I would never come back. I went to college and was like, I'm done with that. Never going back. I have a degree in industrial technology with, I specialized in construction management. So I built buildings for 14 years after I graduated from college. I loved it. I built industrial buildings. I built a lot at the airport here at O'Hare. It was fantastic. I loved what I did. I loved seeing something come from lines on a paper into, a massive building or a park or whatever we were doing. But as I started having kids and they started getting older, I was missing a lot and, was trying to figure out what my next step was. And my husband said, well, have you ever thought about helping your dad? Because he's kind of having a little crisis over there, not knowing how he's going to retire. And, you were looking for something different. And so in 2013, I decided to come back here and see.
Okay.
Let's just see. We'll see what happens. And in 2017, I bought him out and he retired, and the rest is history.
Right. You're still watching things go from lines on paper to in your hands, but you can hold them in some cases, whereas you can't hold an airport in your hands.
And it was so weird to not have to worry about the outside conditions, right? I was always worried about the weather and watching weather reports in construction, and to make things in a controlled environment is amazing.
Yeah. It's kind of the best of all worlds. That is super cool. And I love the fact that you guys specialize in making, small one-offs, but like you're saying, like making machinery for companies.
Yeah.
Because, with my whole Thank a Machinist thing, I'm like, everything in the entire world starts with machining one way or another. And so like the machines that you make, and what's an example of some of what the machines actually do?
Some of them that we make are large, like paper winders for large rolls of paper. So there'll be two different shafts on a machine, and they wind up the paper, or coil for slitting like sheet metal, coils of sheet metal and that kind of stuff. Yeah. And we have some fantastic customers that oblige me with giving us finished photos. So our guys know what they look like when they leave here. They're not painted. They're put together, but our customers will then, give us a photo of here's what that machine looked like, painted and ready to go to the customer, so that, they can see, look at, and it looks so different when all the finishing touches are on them. But, we like to be able to show, look what you did. This is this, big piece of machinery that's going into somebody's plant, to keep somebody else employed. It's kind of cool.
That's super cool that you do that and they do that. But perfect example. Like when people think of paper, they don't think of machinists, right? But paper would not exist without machinists. So, that resonates with me a lot, and that's very cool. So, when you joined your dad, was the company about the same size? Have you grown it since you've been in the in the driver's seat?
It was about the same size team wise. The revenue was probably almost doubled the revenue.
Wow.
Since the same then. Team. Yeah. I mean, over the last 12 years, we've gone through a lot of changes. So, and our staff size has gone up and gone down, and we've just recently kind of found a good size for us right now where we were able to grow our revenue, but, keep up with it. And we're hoping to increase the revenue even more and add more team members. We take pride in the fact that we give everybody a good work home. We try to, at least. People come and they tend to stay. Everybody's been here for quite a while now, and we'd love to be able to expand that. They've just been, with the tools we've added recently, they've just been more efficient and they've been able to keep up with the increased work, which is amazing.
Has that increased work just been sort of natural, growth within your customers, or are you finding new ones?
It's a little bit of both. Most of it has been from our customers. They've seen they've made comments like, oh, you guys are getting things out the door faster. I think maybe there's more we could give to you. Do you think you could do X, Y, and Z as well? And so a lot of it has come that way. We get a lot of referrals from our customers. Our customers tell other people about us all the time, which is, I mean, that's invaluable. We couldn't ask for anything more than that. And I think it's a testament to how how much they trust us if they're willing to pass our names along to their colleagues, whoever they are. But we've just recently started trying to do kind of outbound sales. No one's ever done that. My dad, my uncle, my grandpa, they didn't do it. They did business with their buddies and they were okay with that. And that they didn't want to grow. They were comfortable with where the company was, and that was fine. Mm-hmm. But with us wanting to be able to give more good jobs to more people, we would like to be able to grow. So we are starting to seek out work through email marketing campaigns and things like that. And right now, I'm the only salesperson, so
sure,
I do what I can.
So yeah, tell us a little bit more about those campaigns. How you're doing it? Are you doing it all yourself, or do you have a CRM? Yeah, how are you approaching that?
So we have been extremely fortunate that in our area in McHenry County, Illinois, the county got a lot of ARPA funds through the COVID funding that they didn't necessarily need. Our county has a surplus, which is fantastic. They're financially responsible. So they took some of those ARPA funds and put them into grant programs. One of those programs was specifically for manufacturers. So we were able to take advantage of that grant program and do a lead generation exercise and email marketing campaign with a lead gen company, which was fantastic. It was a great exercise to go through. They helped us curate a list of potential clients, and then they sort of set up 8 emails with them, and they helped us set up those the templates and all that, and get that rolling. And we walked away from that with a list of over 1,600 qualified leads. And wow. When we started, so we'd never done anything like this, our very first email that went out in this program, within 8 hours, we had an RFQ.
Are you serious?
And we were like, holy cow, this works. So, it was the first time we had done it, but, to get an immediate response and throughout the course of that program that we were in, we did get a number of RFQs and a couple of orders. So it's, then we kind of took over that email list ourselves and have been trying to cultivate that. We haven't been as consistent as we probably should have been, but we're trying to get back on that wagon now. And we currently use Constant Contact, but we are looking at switching to a CRM / email marketing campaign platform.
Yep. So those 1,600 are all regional, or they expand broader beyond your county?
Or? They're all over the United States. We have a number of customers outside of our area. The larger work that we do, the large turning and the large scale milling, is mostly they're close by, because that makes more sense. That that's a lot of trucking. But we have a lot of customers outside of our state that we do smaller machined parts for.
How was that list created? Did you sit down with them and say, here's what we specialize in? And then they went out and searched the internet for companies that have possibly parts that are similar or in size or scale?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what tool they used, but we started with sort of broad categories, and then they'd say, okay, Kyra, what about these? And I'm sure if you asked them, I was probably a big pain in the butt, because I'd be like, no, not this. And we probably went back and forth, 10 times. However, doing that, they really were able to hone in on, who we were looking for, what type of companies. Because at first, they were giving me a list that had I'm like, this says Ace Hardware in Birmingham or whatever. It was a hardware store. I'm like, what? No.
Right.
So we really, through a lot of back and forth, really narrowed it down and got a really good lead list.
So I imagine it wasn't perfect at first, because this was just like a generic lead gen company. They didn't know anything about manufacturing or machining. So they serve a lot of manufacturers. was the tools they were using like scraping, and grabbing, lists off the internet or whatever, and they grabbed a few hardware stores and some other random things that just
Yeah.
didn't work.
Yeah. And, it's probably not as easy to zone in when somebody, if I said we do medical or we do aerospace, that's really easy for them. But when I'm like, well, no, we do the other things. We don't do those, but,
Right.
we do we like these bigger guys over here, hardware, and we do have customers that make hardware. They just, it's not a hardware store. So
yes. Was this program, was it through your local MEP or a different organization?
Yeah, this was done in coordination with the county and our local MEP, which here in Illinois is IMEC.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, it was through IMEC and the county. And in me, it was amazing. It was 100% funded. It wasn't a reimbursement grant.
Oh,
so
wow.
The program paid these people direct. I didn't have to pay them and then get repaid by the county. It was 100% funded grant opportunity. It was a really good opportunity, and very thankful that they did it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, the fact that it turned into RFQs and actual orders and started generating, business in the county, shows that it was an effective tool. And maybe your county is unique with these surplus funds or whatnot, but I certainly have heard of, other MEPs and grant programs similar across the country. Just rough scale, like if someone wanted to approach their MEP, or if they decided there wasn't even grant money, but they did want to do this lead gen program on their own, what approximate ballpark, was the cost of doing this program? And it sounds like it was like a fixed time frame.
Yeah, it was a fixed number of emails, and I think it was $7,000 to $8,000. I want to say was the value of that program. And I would certainly say to anybody, if you don't know your local MEP, and they're everywhere, get to know them, because the more they know you and the more your name is out there and in conversations, the more they're going to think of you and make sure that you know about these types of opportunities, because they're out there all the time. The MEPs have lots of grant opportunities that come either through them to facilitate or that they just know about. And it's, there's been a lot for manufacturing, which is fantastic. We need to build American manufacturing back up, and there's been a lot of support for that.
You're certainly spot on about that. Were you guys working with the MEPs before you got involved, or was that something that you brought on?
It was not before I came back.
Okay.
They pretty much stayed in the building. There was no sign on the building. Their name was nowhere on the building. Their answer was, well, the people who need to know where we are, no, come on. We at least need a sign.
See, I'm glad you're mentioning this, because I think there's a lot of people out there that have had that same mentality, and it's to their detriment, I think, because you're right. You need to be out there putting your name out. You need to be networking. You need to be meeting people. You wouldn't have gotten this opportunity if you hadn't got involved with the MEP. And I'm sure there's lots of other examples like that.
Mm-hmm.
Just with the MEP in specific, how did you get involved? Did you learn about them and then just reach out or go to an event they were putting on, or do you recall?
I met one of the local reps a number of years ago at, I think, a TMA event, so Technology and Manufacturing Association here in Chicagoland. I believe that I met an IMEC rep at a TMA event years ago, and they've helped us with a lot. They helped us get a grant for our ISO certification. That we were not ISO, we were nothing, no certifications at all at this shop for all those years. They just didn't believe in it, and that's fine. That was their choice. But when I came back and we were being approached by people and then immediately being told they couldn't work with us because we didn't have ISO, it was something that I started looking into. And through talking with IMEC, they said, well, Kyra, if you're interested, there are grant opportunities. We can help you. And I went, what? So they did. We got a grant from them to have somebody come in and write our ISO program for us and take us through our first surveillance audit.
Yeah. And then of course, so backing up a little bit, you met that person through the TMA, which is a local industry organization, which sounds like, I'm guessing, you got involved with as you came into the business. You took your head out of the out of the gopher hole and started looking around and
Yeah.
see what was out there. So as being part of TMA and any other, has that been an important for your company as well?
Yes. Yeah. Especially TMA. There's a number of organizations that we're part of. TMA has been great. They do a lot of lobbying and a lot of training and a lot of resource sharing. They have an email list for their manufacturing members where if I'm looking for somebody, to do plasma cutting or whatever it is that I need, they will send a list. They will send that request out to just their manufacturing members, and we get work with each other that way. And we've gotten a number of new customers from responding to those requests from other TMA members looking for somebody who can do large turning or milling or whatever
Right.
the case may be. So that has been huge.
Oh, it's so good. That's so fantastic. Yeah, we're NTMA members, and I just preach just how important. I mean, I see these conversations with these shop owners, and interestingly enough, back in the day of running my shop, we were members of our local aerospace organization, but there's no NTMA chapters up in the Pacific Northwest, or machining specific, manufacturing specific beyond this aerospace one. But yeah, I can see how important it is, and many of the guests I've had on the show, are members of different organizations, PMPA or NTMA or whatever, and they fully talk about how crucial it is. And I think the mindset, there's been a mindset shift, maybe in this last generation from, this, I don't want to talk to my competitors. I don't want them to learn about me, to no, we are all in this together. Let's share work with each other. We have a specialty. You have a specialty. Together we can do better. So to see you embracing that is just a prime example that, the importance and, benefiting from it yourself, clearly.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is a very different mindset. Even my dad and my uncle's generation didn't do it. My grandfather, certainly, he would never. If you work at another shop or you're from another, you're not stepping foot in here. What? Have anything secretive? Okay, whatever. We are not like that. Our doors are always open. We love having visitors. We're always working on something or trying to improve something. And if there's something that we're doing that can help somebody else, great.
Right.
I learn lots from other people.
Sure.
There's a group of us. There's 4 women that all own different manufacturing companies. We do different things, but we get on a call once a month, a Zoom call, and just see, does anybody need anything? Sometimes we just need to vent. Sometimes we need a supplier or, a resource. But it's a small world once you start looking around and
for sure.
realizing how much we can help each other.
How did you get involved with that peer group?
Those are mostly ladies from TMA that we've met there. Some of us, I went through Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses. I don't know if you're familiar with that program. I went through that program and then was in Vistage for a few years after that.
Nice.
So one of the ladies in the group with me also went through 10,000 Small Businesses and was in Vistage, in my Vistage group. So we got close that way. And I mean, and one of them has moved her shop from Illinois to Mississippi now, and we still get on a Zoom call and still check in with each other and see if anybody needs help.
So tell us about both the 10,000 Small Businesses and Vistage, because I'm sure not everyone knows what those are.
So the 10,000 Small Businesses program is pretty much it's sort of an intensive MBA course for you working on your own business. Goldman Sachs started it a number of years ago as sort of penance to what happened to small businesses in the 08-09 crash. But it was, when I went through it in 2019, it was held in person downtown Chicago at Harold Washington University. And it was great. It was a great program. You went there and worked on your business and, went through your numbers and, learned how to write a business plan and a pitch. And I mean, it just took you through the whole gamut of HR, all kinds of things that, are pertinent to running your business. And The whole premise was getting you physically outside of your business so that you would learn to kind of switch your mentality and work on it, not in it. It was a great program. I met some great people. They had a lot of resources that we were introduced to. One of them being Vistage. Vistage is the CEO peer group.
Yep.
Sort of the same concept that 10KSB had, where you're working with other, there's other business owners there that you're collaborating with and helping, but then there's a chair in Vistage they call a guiding you and kind of facilitating everything. So going from the 10KSB program where you have all this support and all this collaboration all the time to having it end, you're sort of like, wait, now who am I supposed to talk to? What do I do? So Vistage was a really good transition for that. It's a great program where you work one-on-one with your chair on your specific business, and then once a month the whole group gets together and kind of works together through problems, and it's a great tool. I'm not currently in it. It just got difficult for me to be there, but I was in Vistage for 4 years, and it was a great help to me, and honestly would not have made it through COVID and all that stuff if I didn't have all the resources and the help that I had from Vistage and 10KSB and our personal group of shop owners that we have that help each other.
You don't think you would have made it through?
Oh, I wouldn't have known what to do. It would have been rough. It was rough. It was rough anyway, but I certainly got through it a lot less injured and with a lot less stress because I had all these resources and people that were helping keep me up to date and like, don't panic. Here's what they're doing. Here's what's coming down the pike. Make sure you're getting, get in line for this or, check for the PPP money. And it was, having all of that sort of in my back pocket was a big deal.
Yeah, that's a very similar to period that our shop experienced with the 9/11 after 2000, after 9/11 in 2002, we got devastated because we were largely aerospace and they just stopped making planes for a while. And we ran into or just researched and found our local Small Business Development Center, the SBDC, which is a program, I think, through the Small Business Administration.
Yep.
And we got connected to an advisor, a coach, and we met with him probably weekly at first, but monthly for years after that. And for sure, 100%, we would not have made it through that period of time without their. When we first met with them, we were just a few weeks away from insolvency. We just didn't know what to do. We had only been in business for 4 years. We were like still pretty fresh out of college and like had no idea what we were doing. So I think this theme that we're kind of gelling on here, that you clearly are demonstrating in so many different ways, that it is just so critical to get out of your building, go meet people, get involved with programs, find help, find peers, find coaches. Yeah, it's led to the continuance and success and growth of your business.
Yeah. I mean, you can't possibly know everything. You can't. We're humans. So there's always going to be somebody who's better or more educated on something than I am. So I'm going to meet them and I'm going to, try to get their help. But I'll do the same thing. If there's something that I'm strong in and I can help somebody, I will. It's the same on the shop floor. We don't do that. Well, I'm a mill guy, I'm a lathe guy anymore. We don't do this is my machine. I'm not walking away from it. I don't care what you're doing over there. I'm not going to help you. Mm-hmm. We don't do that anymore. It's, it's very much, do you need a hand? Yeah, here, let me come help you get that. Let me, tighten up the tailstock for you or whatever the case may be. And we cross train a lot. Some people are stronger in turning than they are in milling, but they know how to do both. And it just makes everybody stronger. And it's no different with me. I can't know everything. So I try to find help.
You just said, we don't do that anymore. And let's dig into that.
Well, when I was a kid working here and when I came back, it was very much, I work on this machine. That's all I do. I don't care that he's struggling over there. That's not my problem. I'm not helping him. I don't want to teach him what I know because then he's going to steal my job. No, we don't do that anymore. And some of it just sort of naturally went away as people retired. But we had some people that retired after 45 years, 39 years. So we were here for a very long time. And that was a culture that was fostered. It wasn't their fault. It was almost encouraged. My grandfather was the same way. I'm going to do this and don't watch me. I'm not going to show you. It was just a different mentality. So it took a while to kind of get that out of here, but we brought in a shop foreman in 2017 when I bought the company who does not subscribe to that philosophy. He's very much a cross trainer and, let me show you how to do this or let's help this guy over here. So that was a big help. And we also wiped out this is how we've always done it. I can't stand that phrase. When we have finally gotten rid of that, because it just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
When you hired that person, was that like one of the things you were looking for? Did you ask them about their approach to that?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I know there's a lot of that ingrained in people that have been in this field for a long time. It just sort of, it was pretty common. So I knew I was going to have to be very pointed about that and try to seek out somebody because I wanted someone with experience, obviously, to be running the shop, but I wanted somebody that shared the same philosophy. So we were blessed to find him.
It sounds like an exact parallel for, the leadership of the business. If you're a competitor, you can't step foot in this door and I'm not going to go see, and just like that just flows right down to the machine. Like, don't look at my machine. Exactly. I will look at yours.
Exactly.
When you came in and you hired that shop foreman, was that shift in the mentality, was that just something you just organically and naturally knew you wanted to change? Or did you go through any kind of intentional process looking at values or, just anything formal around the way you wanted to change the culture?
It was nothing formal. It was something that had slowly started to shift since I set foot in the door. Working in construction for so many years, everything is a collaborative effort. Everybody has to work together. That's just how it is. You can't build a 500,000 square foot building and not coordinate with the trade that's, working beside you. You can't. So that kind of collaboration was just sort of in me from that. And, to come back here and look around and seeing everybody working in their own silos, it's like, well, wait a second. I mean, I know you're not working on the same parts, but we're all working towards the same end goal. But I found myself at odds a bit with my dad when it came to that. And it wasn't intentional. He wasn't intentionally saying, no, I think collaboration is bad. It was just his habits were so set. He didn't really realize that his habits were contrary to what I was trying to do. So it became a bit of a struggle between us and having kind of competing philosophies about how to move forward and how to manage things, which, as you can imagine, is fun when it's your dad.
Yeah. So these segues are just so perfect. I just love it. So let's talk about that transition between you coming in, and there was about 4 years before you decided to buy your dad out.
Yeah.
That finally transpired.
Yeah.
Tell us more about that whole period, the challenges, the joys, even if you will, how you actually did buy him out. Was it like over time? Did you go get a loan, or was it just like anything about that would be great.
Sure. So it was a struggle. It was tough. I enjoyed working with my dad again. It was a very different experience working with him as an adult. But like I said, we had very different philosophies. Our just the way we go about things was just very different. My mom, on the other hand, was working for a school district, and she had retired a couple years after I came back. So she's now retired, has a condo in Florida, and is just going back and forth whenever she feels like it, and was getting a little irritated with my dad that he wasn't joining her in retirement. And I was getting a little frustrated. Like, I can't make big changes because you're unknowingly, kind of fighting me on them. So either you've got to decide to retire or I've got to find something else to do because I don't want it to ruin our relationship. So if you ask him, he will tell you that I forced him to retire. 2017 wasn't really the case, but we met with financial planners and the accountants, and we came up with a way to buy him out over time.
Okay.
So through he owns the building, so he gets rent from the building.
Okay.
And then he got money as a consultant, and he's just got a note owed to him from the business. So it's kind of an overtime deal. And it's got multiple levers that, that he could pull and push and pull as needed. So it's worked out well.
Nice.
And it was different to have him gone all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And it was a struggle for a few years, a couple of years of struggle, and then COVID, another couple of years of struggle. And so now we're coming out the other side, a very different company.
Right. So that foreman you said joined in 2017 as well. So you had some of that technical expertise that maybe your dad provided, but still not to the same level, or what was some of the struggles that when your dad left?
Nothing was documented ever. When I came back, honestly, in 2013, nothing was even inspected. Not only were there not inspection documents, there was just no inspection. Everything would just be machined and then shipped out to customers, which I was mortified by. I was like, how are we, what? So there were a lot of things. There's a lot of tribal knowledge, a lot of it in my dad's head, a lot of it in some of the older workers' head, where they just, this guy knows how to make these parts. Nobody else knows how he does it or what he does or where his program is or what tools he uses. No, so there was a lot of that that we discovered when my dad was gone, that all of a sudden it's like, wait, nobody knows how to do this. He's the only one that knew how to set it up or write the program or whatever the case may be. So there was a lot of struggles, just sort of lack of organization, I guess.
Yeah. Oh man, this episode is turning out so good, because that is so relevant and so pervasive in the industry, and you obviously overcoming that, and as you said, really, you're a very different company than you were back then. Yeah, super relatable. So, what did you do to start getting things documented? And I do have to ask, because I'm sure other people will want me to ask. So I'm sure the machinists making the parts, like, they had some calipers, they had some micrometers, they would probably check things as they were making the parts because they want to make sure it was right, but they just didn't document it on anything. They just knew, yeah, this diameter is correct, and there you go, off it goes.
And if they were making 20 pieces, they might check one of them. So it was, they did have tools, and there was an inspection room. It just was really dusty and nobody really went in there. So, and nothing was documented. I mean, if somebody wanted proof of an inspection, there was nothing. There was nothing to give them. So, that has changed. But one of the first things we did to try to help was we got an ERP system. When I came back, we were using Lotus approach. Not even
Lotus
approach. Database.
I've not heard the approach part.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So we were using that database and Excel and a handwritten, ledger book to write the work order number, the shop order numbers in. Okay. The guys were punching in on index cards. This is 2014, not 1970.
2014. Okay. Not 1970.
They were punching in on index cards and writing down the job that they were working on, and it was just it was very difficult to manage. So getting an ERP system was the first thing we tried to do to help manage some of that. And then it became getting good data into that ERP system, because garbage in, garbage out, and we put a lot of garbage in there. But that was our first step. That was our first attempt to try to get ourselves organized.
And that was, I imagine, helpful. You started getting things out of people's heads.
Yeah, it had its limitations. And again, we could only document what people were willing to give up. And, so we did have a lot of kind of pushback of, well, I don't know how to explain what I do or that kind of thing. So it was interesting, but it did help. It was a step in the right direction. But as we moved down the road with it, we found that it wasn't a good fit. It wasn't the right tool for us organizationally. And going from no ERP system to using an ERP system, we didn't even know what to look for. We didn't know what we didn't know about what we needed to look for in a tool. So using one for a number of years and finding all the ways that it didn't fit us really equipped us to look for, to know what we were looking for the next time when we made it the next transition.
So I'm just thinking through all these, crotchety old guys that were making their parts. They were probably pretty skilled at it, but they loved the fact that the inspection room was dusty. That's just hilarious. Yeah, and then finally starting to document and get some of that tribal knowledge out. So I imagine, is the average age of your workforce gotten younger?
Our youngest is my son, who's 19, and we go to early 60s and everything in between.
Right.
So, and I think our average, the average person has been here probably 6 or 7 years.
Okay.
Now at this point,
sounds like it maybe has gotten a little younger. What do you do to find people? We
find a lot of people through Indeed. We also work with a local organization called the Manufacturing Pathways Consortium. It's local to McHenry County. We do high school internships through that program. So we find people that way. That program, we also on their website have what's called a common hiring application. So if somebody's interested in manufacturing but doesn't have any experience, they can go fill out this generic application. And one of my roles in the organization is to make sure that those applications get in front of all the manufacturing members. So, somebody will go apply and then I'll, reach out to, I think there's 95 different manufacturing companies that are members, like, hey guys, go check out this application. There's somebody who is expressing an interest in manufacturing. Let's see if we can find them a home somewhere. And we have found, we have a Department of Labor sponsored apprenticeship program, which we also got a grant to have put together.
Okay. Yeah. Perfect.
But we have found it's easier to grow our own workforce than it is to find them. We find people that want to work hard and are willing to show up every day and want to learn. And, we can teach them the skills that they need. We can put them through our apprenticeship program. We can have them work with the guys on the floor. That has been the best thing that we have found, is to find the right person whose personality fits. I can't teach somebody how to care about what they do. And, I can't, really impart on somebody how important it is to show up every day for your team. But I can teach you how to use micrometers. We can teach you how to write G code, all those things we can help with.
Yeah. I've heard that so many times, hire for attitude, train the skills. Do you have any kind of, besides, I guess the apprenticeship program is sort of the formal program that you do to help upskill and train these folks?
Yeah. And we have just ongoing individualized training. So like right now we have some people taking Spanish because they want to learn Spanish, because we feel like there have been more opportunities for us to bring people on who don't have a real strong grasp of the English language. So some of us have decided to learn Spanish. So we'll do that. We just had one of our, we have a machine with Fager controls. So we just had Fager in to do some additional training first on some things that we thought maybe we were doing wrong. So if we ask all the time, is there anything you need to learn about? Is there anything we need to help you with? And if somebody says something, we'll find it. We'll reach out and find somebody that can help us, or we'll get them in a class. We use Tooling U online for a lot of their online classes. So we are we're always looking for ways to make everybody better, however that looks.
And you're just the queen of resources. You just know how to find them and pull them in and leverage them. And that is awesome.
I love getting to know people. It's what, and making connections is one of the most favorite things that if somebody can say, oh, I need this. And I can say, I have somebody I can introduce you to. I love that.
Yeah.
I love being able to help out.
I do love that too, being a connector. And like, if I can spend 5 minutes or less, even just like putting two people together that could have like a very fruitful relationship, that is so worth doing.
Yeah.
It makes you feel good.
Yeah.
What do you track for metrics in your business to make sure things are going in the right direction?
So every week we look at all the jobs that shipped and look at we calculate the hourly rate that they produced. Mm-hmm. So, take out all your COGS and your expenses and divide it by the time. Mm-hmm. We look at how we were the actual time versus our estimated time to make sure, to see, did something go wrong? Did we need to change this estimate? What happened here? Did we have a tool break? What's going on? Mm-hmm. We watch our rework and remake hours monthly. Okay. We have a family meeting at the beginning of every month where we go over what our rework hours were for the previous month. And if there was anything, consistent, did we see, a common theme happening with the rework hours that we need to address, mm-hmm. training, something to talk about, whatever. And we also track customers' returns, which thankfully rarely happen, but we track them. Mm-hmm. and talk about them if they do happen.
Are all these metrics part of your ISO program?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Is that what was starting to track those something you did because of ISO, or did you have things you checked prior that were less formal?
We did sort of track our rework hours prior to ISO, but we got a lot better at it and, addressing it on a monthly basis with the whole team. I mean, and our monthly meetings are everybody. It doesn't matter what your position is. Everybody's in there. And we talk about, whatever's going on for that month.
So it's the whole company?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. Nice. That's good. We used to, our shop, we did sort of all hands meetings once a month as well. They're important to, get people together, and it's a little hard. We had multiple shifts. So sometimes we'd do it in the late part of the day between the day and night shift kind of overlap period, but the weekend people wouldn't be there, but we'd record them all and then they could watch it on video. But
I could see how that would be difficult.
Yeah. What are some of the biggest challenges you're facing today?
Today, I think it just sort of feels like everything's a little uncertain still. Like there's, I don't know, we're busy, but it feels like there's, people are kind of holding back a little bit or hesitating, for whatever reasons, whatever is going on and underlying all of that. That seems to be a challenge. And just, trying to change our mentality now and start thinking like a bigger company is what I'm trying to do so that we can try to, go out and bring in more work and grow. That's been a little challenging for me to kind of get out of this. You get comfortable with the size of things and where things are and how easy it's become to manage things with the tools that we've put in place. So now I'm going to upset my own apple cart and say, okay, now you need to think bigger than this and try to get out there and, being the face of the company isn't something I'm necessarily comfortable with, but
sure,
I need to get comfortable with it and go represent this company and help.
Yeah. Well, to that end, it's been taking quite a while to get you to be on the show, and I really appreciate you coming on. And I can tell you people are going to love the show. You have so much great wisdom to share. Can you share some of your one or two most memorable, great experiences of owning the shop?
Being part of this team has been fantastic. And just seeing everything that people come up with. We, a number of years ago, one of the things, besides not having a sign, my dad and my grandpa, they never had, there was never shirts, nothing. Mm-hmm. Coming from construction, t-shirts, sweatshirts, that was a big thing. I was always giving those out. So a number of years ago, we decided, hey, who wants to design a shirt? Let's have a t-shirt design contest. Whoever wins, we're going to put their design on our shirts, and everybody's going to be wearing it around, and it'd be great. And that has been so much fun to see how creative our team is when coming up with these designs, and that's been a lot of fun and really rewarding to see them all, putting their thoughts together and putting something down on paper to make a design to represent the company. That has been really cool.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. I'll mention it if you don't, but just following BTM on LinkedIn and seeing like the chili cook-offs, the t-shirt, the contest, the pumpkin carving, like you guys do so many fun things, and then you share them online, which is awesome because that personalizes the brand, that gets people interested, and spreads the word about BTM. I imagine that's been an intentional process.
Yeah, we're a bunch of goofballs. There are Nerf guns everywhere. There are Nerf darts in everyone's toolboxes. So sometimes there's Nerf wars that break out. And I'm a goofball too, and I don't think you have to have work and no fun. We're here a lot. We spend a lot of time here. We spend a lot of time with each other. I think we should enjoy it. So yeah, we're goofballs, and we have pumpkin decorating contests, and then sometimes there's a pumpkin that gets blown up in the shop afterward, and it's fun. We enjoy
Fantastic.
it. We don't take ourselves too seriously.
Yeah, that's awesome. I got to imagine that contributes to just the family feel, the culture, people, the tenure. I mean, there's strategic reasons to have the fun beyond the fact that it's just fun.
It does, yeah. Even our vendors come there. Some of our customers too will say, "Oh, our guys really always want to come over to you and deliver or pick things up. What are you guys doing over there? Did you have another hot dog party? Yeah, or whatever. Tacos. We had tacos this week."
Awesome. Very cool. So, what beyond what you've shared already? What do you feel like are some of the best strategic decisions you've made since you've been the owner?
I think finding the right tools for us has been fantastic. And, not to talk out of school here, but bringing ProShop in to our world has been game changing for us. But that, along with bringing Haas machines in here. When I came back, they only had Hercos, which are great. There's nothing wrong with them. But they only bought them used, and they were old. So changing over to a type of machine that 90% of the resumes that we see have Haas listed on them, that has been huge. That literal tool, bringing that tool on, tools like ProShop, bringing things like Fusion in, just seeking out tools that are the right fit for us has made a world of difference. And I would have never guessed that before. And again, until I had an experience of a tool that wasn't a great fit, I didn't know how to find one that was the right fit. And now that is really paramount, is we got to find the right fit for us, not whatever anybody else says. We got to find what's best for us. And it's just night and day when you find the right tools. It just, it's like hitting a home run. It just takes off.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of wisdom in that. With the Haas machines, obviously people have experience with them, but it sounds like you've brought on multiples, but is there an element of just like standardization that is like underlying some of the importance of these tools?
Yeah. Like with Haas, all the schools around here, that's the brand everybody learns on. They've done a great job of getting their tools into schools and into training trades programs and things like that. So everybody's very familiar with it. And it makes it really easy to transition new people in, or even retraining our team. It's made it a lot easier.
Yeah. And are you trying to become I guess with some of your big boring, your big machines, obviously, that you're not, I don't even know if Haas makes a big boring mill, but all the more mainstream, smaller machines, you're trying to standardize across the board on those just to be standardized and systematic.
We were able to switch out one of our other older Hercos last year for another Haas. So we're slowly trying to kind of switch them out, and now they're all uniform.
Right. Okay. Very good. With just a couple minutes left here, what would be your best advice for a shop that maybe hasn't gone through any kind of transformation or process there maybe earlier on, or someone that's just about to take over their family's business? What's your best advice for folks to succeed?
My best advice would be to find support. Reach out and find people to help. Whatever that looks like. If it's, joining an organization or talking to other shop owners, getting to know your local MEP, if your Chamber of Commerce is active in manufacturing, reach out and start meeting other people that can help, because you can't do it alone. We can't do everything alone. You can't be the answer for everything. There are so many people out there with so much knowledge, and and willing to share it. I would, go out and find those people and be that person in return, be willing to offer what you have or what knowledge you've got. We've all got our own expertise and our own set of skills that we can offer to someone else. So build those relationships. It means a lot.
Absolutely. And I see you doing that yourself online, and great example of this shift in the industry to be more collaborative and more supportive, and which I think is essential. And I guess that leads me into the next question. What's your opinion on sort of the macro trend of machining in North America right now? Is it a good time to be a machine shop? Is it, are there a lot of growth opportunities? Is it tough? It's always tough because it's the hardest business in the world, but getting beyond that.
I think this is going to be a great time for manufacturing. I really think that we are going to get bigger and stronger as an American manufacturing community overall. I am concerned that there are a lot of shop owners that were like my dad, who feel like they don't have an option other than to close their business. They don't have a successor. I just started a new entrepreneurship through acquisition program in our county that I'm going to go through to learn about acquiring businesses, because I want to perhaps be in a position to help some of these companies keep their doors open or keep their team working by acquiring them, or whatever that looks like. Because I do think there's a lot of people that are going to get ready to exit. But that's a lot of businesses, I think, that we could all help sustain.
Yeah. Huh. I'm going to ask you more about that program, because
Sure.
We have some ideas and thoughts about something very similar that we think is really important. So I'm really glad that came up in the conversation. All right. Well, Kyra, this has been an absolutely delightful hour, and I appreciate everything you've shared. You're clearly doing so many things right there at BTM that it really, in the way you've laid it all out, I think it's just clear and inspiring for folks. So if people want to learn more about BTM Industries, whether to apply or to send you POs, where should they reach out?
Sure. We have a website, btmindustries.com. We're on LinkedIn, BTM Industries. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We're all over the place. So check us out. And if anybody is interested in learning more, I'm always willing to help. So find me on LinkedIn. Reach out if you got questions about any of the stuff I talked about, or how to find MEPs or grants or whatever.
Awesome. You're on all the socials, apparently. So
Yeah.
that's fantastic. Well, thank you for paying it forward so much as you do. And I really appreciate you being on the show today.
Thanks for having me.